Hey kids, do you like wrestling? Well, we like wrestling too. We are Shake Them Ropes here on the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Myself and Chris Novembrino kind of doing a lazy river of wrestling criticism, going through the news and whatever happened in stateside television wrestling. And also, you know what? Sometimes we just like to watch old stuff and talk about that too. Love for you to give us a listen. If you haven't already, we are Shake Them Ropes here on the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network.
This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
And welcome to episode 286 of the Super J Cast, recorded on December 4th of 2023. This will be the last time for World Tag League Takeover that you hear some other voices besides Joel and Damon. It's your old pal, Auntie Booze Leprechaun, Nicole Rito, with Curtis from Okada's Shorts podcast. Plug right here.
Plug. Drink, everyone, drink.
Yes.
Yes.
So how are you doing this fine Monday, Curtis?
Man, I've had a great weekend. I took Friday off of work and spent it with my wife, who is unfortunately very sick. But then Saturday I went out and I did nerd things. And then Sunday I went out and I did nerd things. And now it's Monday and I got to go back to work. But before I go back to work, I'm going to be doing nerd things here with my friend Booze Leprechaun. And yes, again, I am one half of the King of Shorts, the International Wrestling Grand Prix. Your good friend Curtis Spears here from the Okada Shorts podcast. Man, it's good to be back, isn't it? We've been having fun.
Yeah, lots of fun. It's almost a shame that it's got to end, but as if we learned nothing from Cody Rhodes' time in New Japan and on the indie scene, it's that Daddy's got to eat first, which means Joel and Damon are daddies, and they got to eat first. And today we are going to be setting that table for them for the finals of World Tag League.
Mm-hmm. The finals of World Tag League and beyond. They're going to be looking into eventually the run up to Wrestle Kingdom, which is a month from today.
Oh God, man, and there's so much that could be said about that Wrestle Kingdom card, how it's looking right now.
It's looking mighty boring, isn't it? It's looking mighty just another fucking show. It's looking mighty fucking power struggle. It's looking mighty fucking King of Pro Wrestling right now.
It's not looking mighty must watch. Right.
Yeah,
you know, there's some
looking like something you would just throw on. Oh yeah, that's right. Road 2 show is on today. Better go watch that.
Ooh, yeah. So what we're going to do today is, we're going to talk about World Tag League in as much as we're going to preview the final 2 block nights, which are going to be happening in a couple days. Hopefully this episode will drop before those shows happen, or we're just going to be delivering another steaming cold pile of hot takes.
Yeah. Please enjoy this uncooked cold take.
Hopefully be good eatings. Yeah, so that's what we're going to be doing. What I want to do is we had gotten a couple questions last week that we did not touch on. These are not going to be long questions, but I do want to hit on one from Arcadia Matthews. And I'm hitting on this one because it's just so weird and uniquely specific that it's our Antonio for the World Tag League.
This is our Antonio for the week?
Yes. Most overrated, Wawa, Von Hayes, Tasty Cakes, or Rocky Balboa, Delco. Most underrated, Jalen Hurts, South Jersey, Chicken Cutlet Sandwich, Heritage's Eric Lindros. And I am going to handle this question in terms of I have to pick one of the most overrated things, one of the most underrated things. In terms of overrated, That is so hard.
Overrated, dude. Tasty cakes.
See,
I'm sorry.
no. See, and that's why I'd have to disagree with you. Because I love me some tasty cakes. Nothing better than a good butterscotch crimpet. Come on now.
But tasty cakes are just fucking great value brand Little Debbie.
Oh, really?
Really? Really? Living in Pennsylvania I lived in Pennsylvania for about 5 years. I think I only enjoyed a tasty. I had tasty cakes a few times. I am a fat dude, but I enjoyed tasty cakes maybe twice. I just don't see it. I don't see it.
We may have to end the podcast right now. That has hurt my feelings. Because I love me some jelly crimpets, peanut butter candy cakes, the aforementioned butterscotch crimpet. Yeah, I'm
Okay,
actually
okay. How about this? Overrated Wawa sandwiches.
I don't have a hard feeling on Wawa. I love me some Wawa, but
I'm
I
a Sheetz
don't.
guy. I'm a Sheetz MTO guy.
That's understandable. That tells me what part of Pennsylvania you lived in.
Nepa.
Yeah. I was actually gonna say Rocky Balboa.
Oh,
yeah.
He ended communism for us.
I don't know. We still have China.
We do still have China, but that's because Rocky's had he fought communism so hard that he broke his brain.
Fair enough. Fair enough. And then for most underrated, I have to go with Heritages, which is because that's an insanely deep cut. And what Heritages is, so you have Wawa and you've got Sheetz, which are not fully national, but they're, let's call them like super regional convenience stores. You can get your coffee, get your delicious sandwiches, everything you would need to kind of start the day. Heritages is a super regional, like I don't think there are any outside of South Jersey, but the same concept. And I had one in my hometown, and that was great to go there because they had a breakfast sandwich called the Hairy Egg, HERIEGG.
Okay, I got scared there for a second.
Exactly. But just a nice little egg and cheese sandwich. You have a choice of like your meat component on a Kaiser bun. My Heritages also had a soft serve connected to it, so you could either go and get your Coke or your little sandwich, or you could go next door and you can get some delicious soft serve ice cream. And so out of those,
actually sounds really, really good.
Yeah. Eric Lindros being most underrated. Fuck that noise. If you had put Eric Lindros in the most overrated category, I'd have voted for that all day, every day.
I mean, like he could have been something spectacular, but he liked to come across the neutral zone with his head down. And when you play in the East and Scott Stevens is there, he's going to end your fucking career, unfortunately. Right. So that was fucking hockey in the 90s. Sorry about it, buddy.
And then also, well, as a Penguins fan, I had to spend the 90s watching Mario Lemieux get fucking mugged.
Okay, Mario, yeah, he
got mugged.
He needed an enforcer.
He needed a Scott Stevens.
Yeah, he needed somebody to say, "You don't touch Mr. Lemieux,"
But a lot of people touched Mr. Lemieux.
That's true.
So, and then Joel had sent the question of, please compare each Ozeki to a member of the current NJPW roster. Ozeki being Sumo.
I gotta ask you, I haven't been keeping up with Sumo lately, but how is my boy Wakataka Kage doing?
Wakataka Kage is in, I think, Makushita, which is not anywhere near Makuchi. So Makuchi is your top division, and Wakataka Kage has missed enough bash shows that he is dropped out of.
Oh no!
I'm checking that just to.
Wasn't he on the verge of becoming Ozeki?
He was on the verge of becoming Ozeki, but he is not Ozeki. So. Banzuke information. But so that is where, let's see here, find Rikishi. This is riveting. Rikishi name. Now I gotta see if I can spell Wakataka Kage right. No, I did not spell. No, here it is, because he's not in, I think he's in Makushita. Yes. So going into the last bash show of the year, which they just finished up, Waka Takakage was East Makushita number 6.
Oof.
So yes, his highest rank was Sekiwake in March.
Yeah.
And then he dropped to Komusubi in May, which is just 1. He dropped to Magashira 12 for July, then dropped to Juryo number 7 in September,
Jesus.
and then Makushita number 6 for November. And let us see how he did. So it's a bunch of injuries. So he completely missed the May, July, and September tournaments. And sumo, if you're missing that many tournaments, can be very brutal in terms of rankings.
And that's why you see a lot of sumo that have the same injuries all year round, because they never stop to get it, surgery or anything like that. So
yeah, and so, but in November, he did participate in November, and he had a 5-2 record, so a winning record. Now I don't know at East Makushita 6 if that's going to be enough for him to pop back up into, say, like Juryo 15. That will be something that I might do a quick little research on when we are done and post that to Twitter. To answer Joel's, I would think at this point, I almost want to compare Takakeisho to Great Okan. And that, and here's why. Because for years now, we're like, oh, Takakeisho is going to be the next Yokozuna. Takakeisho is going to be Yokozuna. All he's got to do is just basically show up and not shit the bed, and he's going to be Yokozuna. And that same kind of fervor and desire as everybody has for Great Okan is going on a run. This is it. He's going to go on a run. And then it doesn't happen. And then we're, just happy that Takakeisho has stayed at Ozeki and not lost that position. So that would be my initial deal. For Hoshoryu, I almost want to compare him to one of our Reiwa Easy Company members. Almost maybe Fujita, right?
Okay.
In that somebody that has kind of come onto the scene, and not that, and Hoshoryu has already gotten one Yusho. So I don't want to do a comparison in that way, but somebody that's just kind of quiet, but is still confident and gets the job done, and is just very steady.
Nice. I can see that. I can see that together. Yeah.
And then our last, and then our final Ozeki is the artist formerly known as Kiribayama, who is now, let me go back into the Banzuke so I can get his right. Makuchi. He is now called Kirishima. He just finished the year with a beautiful record to win his second Yusho at 13-2, which is like one of the best records all year of anybody winning a Yusho, and definitely out of the Ozekis. And so I think I would make a comparison. Who do I want to compare? This is going to be a little wild. I'm going to say Gabe Kidd.
Gabe Kidd.
And
okay.
And the reason why I'm going to say Kidd is that Kidd is already, Kidd rebranded himself just as Kiribayama rebrands himself as Kirishima when it gets to Ozeki. And very quickly upon that rebranding, already won gold. That took him no time at all from when he joined when they made War Dogs, to him getting double gold. Right?
Okay, yeah.
And yes, he's not currently holding any gold, but we all have very high expectations that very soon he's going to be either, leader of Bullet Club, or we just see very good things for Gabe Kidd on the horizon very quickly. And this is kind of the same thing with Kirishima, where basically Kirishima is going to go into the January Basho with the expectation on his shoulders from the Yokozuna Decision Council and the Sumo Association that he does not even have to win in January. Let me repeat that. He does not have to even win in January to come out of that basho and be crowned and to gain Yokozuna status. All he has to do is finish, presumably second, because they just said finish with a good record. If he's not winning it, I would say he's got to come in second with a very good. I think they won a 12-3.
Yeah, that
and
sounds
he will
right.
be
I mean,
Yokozuna.
they want double digits for sure, because you want double digits in 3 straight tournaments, right? Is how they look at promotion, basically.
Well, not for Yokozuna. So that is to become Ozeki, what they're looking for is 3 tournaments in a row with double-digit wins that total at least 33 in number.
So they're looking for 11-4 for over 3 tournaments. Okay.
If you can at least manage that at the rank of Sekiwaki, you get promoted to Ozeki. To make the move from Ozeki to Yokozuna, it is traditionally winning 2 bashos in a row.
Okay.
That's how it normally goes. And even then, sometimes you got to look, they want you to pass an eye test, which is what's been happening in the Takakeisho, where he's been winning bashos at Ozeki. And then they're like, we're not quite sure. We don't have a good feeling about you. So you really need to perform. And then he cracks under the pressure and has not made that jump to Yokozuna. With Kirishima, they want either a kind of decent eye test pass or win. If he wins, he's in. No questions asked. If he does not win, they may settle for an 11-4 because they are really fucking desperate to have a somewhat even remotely healthy Yokozuna. Basically, he's getting the Kasena Sato treatment, to where they were at the point with Kasena Sato where they were and at that point, Kasena Sato had not even won a Yushu at Makuuchi, but he was also an Ozeki during the time of Haruma Fuji, who is, I think, the true sports GOAT. So they got to the point with Kasena Sato where they were like, bro, just don't shit the bed. Can you just not shit the bed and we will give you. And he just happened to win it. And then was it Haruma Fuji? Well, it was the same time as Haruma Fuji in the era Hakuho. God. But then Haruma Fuji next basho ripped just totally fucked Kasena Sato for the rest of his sumo career with a pec pull. And
Ooh.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Welcome to the Sumo Cast, everybody. Sumo J Cast.
Yeah. But that is why I'm gonna say Kirishima, Gabe Kidd, because there's
and that can
lot
lead us into another question directly, eh? Now that you mentioned Gabe Kidd.
So here, yes. So what we can then do is, then we will also, aren't we clever people? We're going to use this to transition into actual talking about block finals. So our first block final is going to be A block. That is going to be on the 6th of December at, I'm probably going to be butchering this name, so my apologies, Karatsu Athletic Stadium. Now, match order is not finalized as of when I looked at the website just before we went on air for recording, but the final night has a match between TMDK and War Dogs. Yes. I think this is going to end up being the ME for the night. TMDK is coming into that night at 10 points. War Dogs in the hunt at 8 points. So that very much feels like for the marbles, who is going to be A block winner. And remember, and a reminder, because we didn't kind of really talk about this last week, because I think we both kind of forgot how World Tag League is actually shaping up this year. So we're going to have the block final nights. And then on the 8th in Kagoshima, at the Kirishima City Matazona Arena, the fine citizens of Kagoshima will be getting a semi-final World Tag League night where the top points of A block will face the second points of B block. B block top point getter gets A block second point getter. So that's what's going on. So TMDK War Dogs looks to very much be, in theory, for all the marbles
for the
for
standings,
A block.
Who gets into the playoffs.
And so the question from Daryl Satana, all 4 War Dogs look like stars and Finlay looks like a wet diaper. What are the odds we see a BC insurrection at Wrestle Kingdom New Year's Dash? I know Finlay is Gato's boy, but his stink is rubbing off on the rest at this point. Maybe Tama may jump back to lead.
No, not gonna happen.
No, I don't think they're gonna switch Tama back to heel from face. But so for me, the whole BC thing feels very curious and weird right now. If you are enough of a Shin Nihon freak to actually watch when the different Bullet Club groups come into the ring and they you get the Chiron with their names, and then the faction that they're with, each mini faction within Bullet Club has its own logo, and that's how people are being represented. So for an example, you get an undercard match that's got Gato. Gato's got the War Dog symbol when they say he's with Bullet Club. House of Torture, any of them are going to have the House of Torture symbol. And really, Rogue Army has Fale and Bonza have the Rogue Army symbol next to their name. And then really at this point, it's only Ishimori and Chase that have a regular BC logo next to their names when they get introduced on TV.
Ishimori was also wearing a Rogue Army shirt the other day when they were tag teaming together, wasn't he?
Yeah, so I don't know what's going on with BC. I will say that the match between War Dogs and House of Torture was probably the most BC Civil War-ish things have been.
It was so much fun. I loved that match. Like, I know it was 100% bullshit from here to the end, but like, God, it was fun, wasn't it?
That match was the physical embodiment of fuck around and find out. Because in the undertags, House of Torture had kind of fucked around with War Dogs, and then there's post-match stuff where War Dogs is like, we don't consider you part of Bullet Club, and we're going to show you. We thought that tonight was just going to be some fun, have a good time, but no, we're going to show you something. House of Torture had some similar vibes. They come out to the ring with the War Dog towels that they're using to like rub their asses, rub their feet, blow their nose into. And then it just kicked off. And there are some moments like Gabe throws Evil into the barriers, which knocks over the ring announcer. And it's just quick second shot of the look on Evil's face where he looks to be questioning all of his life decisions.
What has led me here?
Yes. Same thing with Yujiro. Basically, everybody from House of Torture at some point looked like they deeply regretted pissing off Gabe and Coughlin. Shout out to Gabe, who was a wild man for that fucking dive from the balcony.
Man. So much fun. Because you can't go see what goes through somebody's head when they do some shit like that. What goes through Kota Ibushi's head before he takes a fucking moonsault off of a balcony? What goes through Gabe Kidd's head before he just crossbodies 10 people off the top of a balcony? Like, what goes through these idiots' heads when they jump off something for us to clap and gawk at? Because goddamn, it's awesome.
And in Gabe's case, they're in the Japanese equivalent of a bingo hall.
Yep.
And all of these venues, for the most part, have looked the same throughout World Tag League. And he's doing that in front of maybe a couple thousand people. Like that did not look like there was like a ton of people in that place. Not that where they were could hold that many. And to do that kind of crazy dive, like bravo to him, because man, there are a lot of cats that aren't putting in half as much work.
Well, I've heard a rumor that Gabe Kidd, he don't give a fuck. He's a wild man. He's a madman. And he's going to do whatever he got to do. So that's the rumor I've heard. I don't know if it's true, but it seems like it might be.
Yeah. But to kind of tie this back to Daryl's question, so I think we both agree Tama is not coming back.
No.
I think, assuming that this is the main event, if House of Torture does not try to cost War Dogs the match, I will be shocked.
That could be terrible. Oh man, I would love nothing more than to see an absolutely wild match between the War Dogs and TMDK. Oh man, if House of Torture comes in and fucks it up, I'm going to be so angry. And that's going to add a great match. Let's see. Let's run it back. Run it back for Wrestle Kingdom. Let's go. The War Dogs versus House of Torture 5-on-5. Do it.
Right.
Or I guess, it'd be 5-on-5 with Gato, but yeah.
Well, I mean, Gato came out with the fucking
sledgehammer,
fucking real mallet, not the comedy shit that Unfit Finley had. You know, Gato's rolling out with the sledgehammer, swinging it about.
Here comes Gato, fucking level 14 paladin.
Yeah. Which is why, like, at the end of that War Dogs House of Torture, I was like, House of Torture's gonna fuck this up for the War Dogs.
I think you've sold me on that. But yeah, if that leads to a 5-on-5, like, I don't know, some undercard somewhere on Wrestle Kingdom, or maybe like as the final Korakuen Hall show before Christmas or something like that, you know, that could be something really fun. I would love to see that. Let's run it back. Fuck it. Let's go. What's Maloney doing? Get back to Japan, bro.
Yeah. So that, and then in terms of what's happening to Finley, I don't think Finley's going anywhere.
Nope.
Because here's the thing, kids. When one of the presumed bookers is escorting you to the ring, only good things are going to happen for you career-wise.
You're the good guy. You're the big new guy. Here's a secret, boys and girls. Finley's winning that fucking belt on January 4th. Run from it, dread it, but accept it. It's coming. Finley's going to be the new, not Intercontinental Champion or whatever it is, and you're going to have to learn to love it, because he's the only one that's an actual contracted New Japan Pro Wrestling employee. And if they're getting rid of another belt, the Strong title, which we can talk about that if we need to again, but if they're getting rid of that belt, something's got to replace it, and they're going to replace it with a dude who's not on AEW television. They're going to replace it with a dude who works for them, because so help me, I will not take another 6 months of where is this fucking belt? Not when Moxley had it, it was gone for a year and a half, albeit that was because of the world shutting down, a once in 100 years world shutting down novel coronavirus. Also, when Kenny had it, where did it fucking go? 6 months it was gone, and he defended it, once on AEW television? No thanks. No more of this. No more of this. I hate it that I'm going to be pulling for for David Finlay on January 4th. I fucking hate it. But I'm gonna, because fuck that, dude. I cannot take another 6 months of our brand new, hopefully beautiful belt fucking off for a half a year. No, sir. Not to go sit on Tony Khan's fucking mantelpiece. No fucking way.
Hopefully. It should end up on Finlay for all the reasons you just enumerated. I would also not be shocked if that belt ends up on Ospreay. Right. It's just, especially if they think that they're going to have access to Osprey more than just at Forbidden Door and
Wrestle
maybe
Kingdom.
like right.
He might be back for the G1, although he probably won't. We're probably done seeing Osprey in the G1.
Oh yeah.
Like I mean, if they're paying him, 7 figures out the door, they're definitely not bringing him in, letting him be off TV for a month. No, fuck that,
No.
dude. I'm not taking this. It can't be on Osprey. It can't be on Mox. It has to go on Finley. We have to establish Finley as this leader. And then maybe we can establish Finley as not a lackluster, Jay White, because like Finley had so much when he was sending Jay White out and he was doing this rebel thing before he joined the Bullet Club, like officially. I was digging it. And then he joined the Bullet Club and just turned into Jay White. That was so upsetting. Man, be David Finley, right? Be the rebel. Yes. Be this cool fucking bring gold or bring bodies. I love that shit. But man, you are not Jay White. You don't wrestle like Jay White. You never have. You don't have Jay White's air, his aura. Aura is a thing I see tossed around a lot on Twitter for the IWC. You don't have Jay White's aura. You have a different aura. You have a different presentation. Please fucking discover who David Finley is, grab that fucking belt, and let's actually make Bullet Club a name again. Because right now, nobody gives a shit. Nobody gives a shit.
Make Bullet Club great again?
Make Bullet Club great again. Umbakaga.
I mean, I got nothing else for that. But we're looking at a ME of Team DK, War Dogs. I think Team DK is going to win it. Now, I don't know if War Dogs is going to lose via House of Torture bullshit, or they're just going to lose for the reason a lot of times that I see that they end up kind of losing matches, at least kind of within universe, is because they're on the wrong side of uncontrolled chaos, that they just extend themselves just that little too much, and it allows their opponents to win. Where if they would just temper that just a smidge and rein that back in, especially in the case of Gabe, like during the G1, it's like, oh, well, you could have won some of those matches if you hadn't gassed yourself just starting out the match, tossing dudes left and right into chairs and just exerting that chaos, which is in Japan, at the right time.
But that chaos is what sells us on Gabe Kidd. Him screaming that he's going to run up in your grandma's retirement home and knock her out of her wheelchair while he's throwing you into the crowd and stuff like that. That's the shit I feed on. That's the Gabe Kidd I want. That's the madman. I don't give a shit if he wins or loses. That's my fucking dog for real.
And I think that is why our fucking dogs for real may not get out of the blocks.
Yep.
I think we would both agree that if we had to give like out a letter grade for War Dogs, maybe like a B+ A-.
I'm in there. I would say maybe just let's go with A-. If they do end up winning, big if they can beat TMDK and like go on to claim the block, that would be something else, man. But I think we could see a lot of it, because if we're doing the playoffs where A1 faces B2 and A2 faces B1 or whatever, we could have a rematch between the War Dogs and TMDK at some point, and then we could have House of Torture ruin it. Like, there's so many different ways that we could work this and get a great Bullet Club Civil War light sort of match out of it, and fully split House of Torture off. Maybe, I don't know. It seems like its own thing. It's growing at its own pace now. And the matches are so much fun. So I would love to see that on a big stage. That way you could still have TMDK win. You could have War Dogs get a big win over TMDK. That would also be cool. I don't want either to lose, but I want them both to win.
Yeah, because we're looking at, so let's say War Dogs wins on the 6th, then they're at 10 points each, and they have the tiebreaker over TMDK, which I am then presuming would make War Dogs A1, TMDK A2.
Yeah.
Which that is how I would do it, but sometimes I just don't trust this company.
Well, I mean, they're going to try and do anything they can to shock the audience, right? Like they sometimes forego logical booking to shock, not as much as some Western companies, but it's been known to happen.
Yeah. TMDK, my opinion has not changed. I still think that they're going to, spoiler, win World Tag League overall. They just still have that vibe about them. They've got the most points at 10 coming into the final night of any teams in either of 2 blocks. They've just been killing it, and we keep getting reminded on English commentary when we have it that they're the best tag team right now to have never won the belts. I think it's time. It's a toss up between them, Monster Sauce, and Kiyomiya and Owa for me for like MVP of the tournament.
Man, there's so many good ones though. Like they've been great. TMDK A+, I think they've been exciting as hell. They've shown why they're one of the best tag teams on the planet right now. I think maybe the reason I'm not as excited for them to win is because I feel like that's what's coming, and I'm interested in everything else that's building around it. Like, I've already kind of accepted that TMDK is going to win this and get a great shot at the tag team titles at Wrestle Kingdom, and maybe finally get their hands on that gold that they've coveted for so long. But that's such a foregone conclusion in my mind that I think I'm more excited about things building around it.
Fair.
Like
I've also seen
greatness,
right.
Expected greatness.
I've also seen a lot of people kind of complaining about how it's not a potential Wrestle Kingdom matchup between DMTK and Bishamon is not sexy because we've seen it before, and we've seen it a lot lately, and the lack of excitement over seeing that match again. And for me, I have no problem seeing that match again, mainly because I think that's a perfect match for Wrestle Kingdom. We know that this company, they've got the tag belts, but they don't always remember that they have the tag belts or really love booking the tag division in a long-term, exciting way. We had Dangerous Techers and Golden Ace, and then Dangerous Techers and GOD during the pandemic, and Taichi and Zach were almost putting the promotion on their backs, but that was more out of necessity than desire, right? I don't think we get any of that stuff if the world's not shut down. And so I'm only anticipating that the tag matches will be kind of middle of the card at Wrestle Kingdom. At best, they're going to get 15 minutes. And I don't mind seeing TMDK and Bishamon in a nice 15-minute sprint.
Yeah, I mean, if they can avoid going like 30 minutes, if they can keep it down to maybe 15 minutes, yeah, let's go. I mean, I love Bishamon as far as, like, I think they're great champions. They put on entertaining matches when they have to. They do some things that really rub me the wrong way. That sort of drum circle thing they do, God, it looks stupid every time. But I can't say that they're bad champions. I can't say that they've had a bad reign. I just say probably just time for them to be done, and let's put the belts on a tag team. And I don't know what they would do afterwards. I'm not sure where Bishamon would go. That's not up to me to decide, so I don't really care. Let's put Yoshihashi in the Never division. Why not? Anyway, let's put the belts on TMDK at Wrestle Kingdom. Let's fucking go. All right, do it, cowards.
So follow what I think is going to be the semi-main. We have the Chaos team of Toru Yano and Ishii at 8 points against United Empire's Holy Seaman Army, Great-O-Khan, and Hinare at 6 points. I don't want to have a 3-way tie for 10 points.
Yeah, no, that's too ugly.
It's too ugly. And every time we kind of gas ourselves up in any of these round robin tournaments, whether it's G1 or Super Junior Tag League or World Tag League, we one of the blocks inevitably has one of these, if this then triple fizz bend, we could have this whiz bang thing that then if this thing had happened and that thing and boom, ba boom, ba boom, and then this is how you end up with your top who top 2 goes through. We get all excited because we love chaos. Who are in Japan, and then ultimately when the night actually happens, it all kind of goes to chalk, and you don't get that crazy scenario that's been hanging like a sword of Damocles over the tournament. So I don't think we're going to end up with a 3-way tie for 10 at 10 points. Now watch them decide to not be cowards for once and prove me wrong. Because let's be honest, they kind of proved us wrong on how we thought A Block was going to go. I mean, we both. Yeah. I mean, I don't think either of us thought that Yano and Ishii would be in the hunt on the last night.
No, definitely not.
What I'm hoping this is setting up is to have a meaningful match between these two teams, which will then lead into one of Hinare or Great-O-Khan pinning Ishii and setting up for maybe one of those road to Wrestle Kingdom matches at Corrigan, a 6-man match with Ishii, Okada, Tanahashi versus some amalgamation of United Empire, somebody with maybe even Callum. That might be a fun little trios match of Callum with Hinare and Great-O-Khan. I wouldn't hate it.
I wouldn't hate that. I think having Callum come out with them all tournament long has been great, getting his face on there. And then you know what? Yeah, let's see him in the ring with not just Ishii but also Tanahashi and Okada. Let's see what he's learned so far. Let's let him show where his signpost is. Let's put his flag somewhere and find out exactly what he can do against greatness. Like this is I was watching some old episodes of Noah wrestling back when he had Morishima, and he had Morishima versus like when he was not a young lion. It's not a young lion in Noah. It's Morishima versus Kenta Kobashi, Morishima versus Misawa and Segura, and like seeing like where he is amongst all these great wrestlers. And it was really cool. So let's do that for Callum. Let's put Callum in the ring with some of these biggest names ever and see what he's got.
I still want to say something about Noah at the moment, but we'll get to that. But Chaos, I mean, our Chaos team coming in at 8 points. Grade wise, I kind of want to give them like either a B- or a flat B. At times, they've been an interesting team when it's been less Yano haha bullshit kind of stuff. And Yano's been more of that shooter serious. Then that team's been kind of interesting to me. But on the flip side, I'm just why, and we'll get to this, I'm sure, in a moment or two. Why out of some other teams, they are the ones that get to go into the final nights still with something to play for. And I'm hoping that it's more mainly because we still have to set up some stuff for Wrestle Kingdom, maybe a couple things for New Year's Dash, for the Corkins leading into Wrestle Kingdom. So I'm hoping this is one of those types of matches where it's just to put the fear of this triple Fizbin, oh my God, whiz bang scenario into play. And in reality, it's just setting up a 6-man tag to give some people something to do in the lead up to Wrestle Kingdom.
I'm into it.
Right. And with Holy Seaman Army, yeah, a B. They've been interesting at times. Other times, for me, it's just a reminder of why they're always, not even the bridesmaids, like maybe the flower girls or flower boys or ring bearers, right? But just not where, we want more, but our expectations, our hopes never seem to be in line with reality when it comes to like Okan and Hinare.
It's funny because when Okan was tag team champions with Cobb, like we were like, oh, that's great, but Okan deserves better. And now it's like, gee, I really wish Okan would be tag team champion again. Like something. We always want more for him. And I would like to see Hinare finally get himself some gold. No one earns anything, but he's proven that he's got a connection with the crowds. Like he's proven that he's got a connection with this company. He's proven that he's got what it takes in the ring. Like a lot of people, can kind of, poo-poo his outside the ring stuff and they don't like how he lives his life or whatever. I don't give a shit about any of that right now. He's not hurting anybody. The thing is, the dude is a flat out murderer when it comes to in-ring stuff. Like he's so much fun to watch in the ring. And that is really getting him in touch with the Japanese audience. It's gotten him in touch with at least a little bit of the Western audience. And if they're trying to continue to expand into Australia, New Zealand, things like that, they could do a lot worse than belting up Hinare. I think that would be a lot of fun. So let's get Okan back in the W column. Let's get Hinare some gold. Fuck it, man. Let's go.
Speaking of Hinare and his outside the ring activities, we all know that Hinare is an author of books for manhood, alpha males, right?
Yep.
You know who could probably use a copy of his book right now?
Oh, gee. I would like to answer that question, but I can't see through all the tears.
So as some of you hopefully will have picked up, we are now transitioning to what I think will be not curtain jerking, but one above, the match on final night, which is Shota Umino and Ren Narita against House of Torture. Shota and Ren have 6 points. House of Torture has 4 points. And there's a lot happening here. The main thing, the broader, less kind of funny haha, but we need to have a discussion, is the fact that going into, I think if you asked most people and said, hey, do you think that shooter roughneck style, whatever the hell they were calling their dating simulator, if you thought Umino and Narita were going to be in play on the final block night, let alone where they would be like finals, I think most people would have told you that they're going to be in play on some level. I know a lot of people just were like hoping, coping, praying that Umino and Narita were actually going to win World Tag League.
I thought they were. I mean, I went off on it in the last episode. I thought they were going to win the whole thing.
And instead, here we are on what's going to be the final block night. And there is no way they can factor into the final decision. They themselves are not in play. And I don't see a scenario where even if like they don't factor at all, them beating House of Torture doesn't somehow factor in some weird strength of schedule thing. Like there's nothing going on here. This is not even a case of House of Torture spoiling anything. And
it's completely devoid of meaning. Absolutely.
And it rolls back into this constant theme of discourse of what are we doing with all these young guys that at the beginning of the year we labeled as the Reiwa Three Musketeers. And here we are in Tag League, and none of these guys, none of your Three Musketeers have any sort of factor play into the finals. And then here's Heatstorm, Evil Knievel cosplayer, Yuya Emura, who actually does have a play, right? I don't know if that means anything, and we'll talk about, just two guys when we talk about B Block. I don't know, I could cope and go, well, yes, it does mean something. It means and try to create a story. But as we talked about last week, I don't trust this company enough to tell a long-term sleeper type of story like that right now.
I think that's completely fair. Like with these guys, maybe they're trying to do something like, so Shooter is learning under the tree of John Moxley, right? And Moxley has shown a lot of emotion in the ring and things like that. And it's gotten him on side with a lot of fans. Like they've seen his ability to get over with the fans because you always know where his head's at. You know how he wears his heart on his sleeve. And Eddie Kingston specifically, who's, I guess, like not a stepdad, but maybe like the funkle. He's the fun uncle that comes over. He and Shooter, he could be learning from Eddie Kingston as well. Like when you have these emotional moments and show the fans your heart, when you show the fans your emotions, maybe it helps you get over. But it's like Eddie Kingston was, crying because he almost killed himself at one point, and now he gets to battle to be the ROH champion. Like he's not crying because he lost on night 6 of the World Tag League. There's a disconnect there. I just think it's maybe he's doing it a little backwards. If he was having a breakdown after the loss to Will Ospreay, like you and I have said off air, if he had this breakdown after the loss to Will Ospreay, maybe that would be understandable. We could say, like, I've tried 3 times to beat this guy on various big stages and I just can't do it. That would seem like it would be something that would be more emotional for him than just, me and my friend Shooter, we're not going to win the tag belts. Like this isn't even it's not a singles belt. It's not a very highly ranked belt in the tiers of New Japan belts. Like the World Tag League, like there's a reason Joel and Damon take the month off during the World Tag Leagues, because like no one gives a fuck, dude. There's a reason why you're playing like these community gymnasium centers in the middle of nowhere during the World Tag League, because no one gives a fuck, dude. Like, calm down. It's cool. And having feelings as a man is very, very valid. Your feelings matter. Your feelings are, I want to say understandable, but they're not. I get it, man. I struggle with depression and things like that. I have brain medicine that I have to take every day so that I don't have a breakdown when I'm at work. But like, it's just World Tag League, man. Like, I feel bad for the kid. Maybe this is not kayfabe. Maybe this is like him having an actual breakdown, which would be absolutely horrible. But like, it seemed like it wasn't. It seemed like a work. If it is a work, I don't think it's gonna ingratiate you to the fans at all. If it's not a work, I'm hoping you get all the help that you need, and I hope that people have reached out to you, and you can find yourself in a better place. That being said, bro, if instantly you had to have known that was going to turn into a meme. You had to know that was going to turn into a meme the second you hit send. Fucking there's an undo delete post button for a reason, Shooter. That's why I think it was probably kayfabe, because like somebody would have been like, "Hey bro, are you okay? Take that down." That had
I have no doubt that this was a work, and I just here's my thing on Shooter overall, in that, and this is I want to have a discussion about his gimmick, and to me, this feels like somebody that does not know what they want to be when they grow up.
Okay.
Because he's a patchwork quilt, right? So he's got these things from Moxley, including his Linus security blankie in the form of the jacket from Moxley.
Yep.
And he's got Moxley's Death Rider finisher. But he also wears the sorted colors for his gear that you would see in the mall in the 1980s on a t-shirt kiosk.
Well,
right.
A lot of the young guys coming up are wearing pants like that. Like Kiyomiya's wearing pants like that. Fucking
right, so you've got that supposed learning tree toughness from Moxley, right? And Mox coming down to ringside in that match against Ospreay and going, "Don't you fucking quit. Don't you fucking quit." And him trying to channel that toughness of Moxley, and he carries the jacket around. But then you've got the visual aesthetics of a Tanahashi, but also at times he looks like a dude that if you told me he sang the theme song for Gavin, I'd have fucking believe you.
Yes, because Space Sheriff Gavin reference. Yeah.
Because he looks like a dude that sings tokusatsu themes from the 70s and 80s. Put him in Jam Project. Tell me I'm wrong. He would fit in visually perfectly there. And when he comes into the ring and he's kissing babies and shaking hands just like Tanahashi would do, and he stands up at the top of the rope and he kind of shows his titties like Tanahashi does. Right? He kind of adjusts his jackets, make sure that you see he's got some titties, and then he does his deal. He's got the hair like Naito. Which, if anything you're going to take from Naito, bad hair is not the thing I would take from Naito, right? And he's got that Murder Ibu aspect, where that sequence with Ospreay, that is pretty much Ibushi Nakamura, Wrestle Kingdom 9.
Yep.
A little
Demon
bit
Shooter
of
was cool as fuck, though.
Demon Shooter is cool as fuck, right? But he just keeps he's the amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. And he's taking all these things, and now he's taking the emotional aspect of Tanahashi. And I saw people going on Twitter, well, it's okay that Shooter cried because Tanahashi cries. And if it's good enough for Tanahashi, it should be good enough for Shooter. And the crying in and of itself, I don't have a problem with. What I have a problem with on any level is the fact that Tanahashi does not post pictures of himself crying. All the photos online that we see of Tanahashi crying is screenshots that the rest of us have taken, and then we're like, "Oh, it's a Monday, Tanahashi cried," right? Where Shooter instead takes Soy Jack. I don't know what that is. All the kids are saying it. This amazing ugly cry photo that makes me think that Ren broke up with him and is taking somebody else to the prom. And it almost feels like he should have entered his Balloon Okada phase already. Because, yeah, even Okada cried, but Okada had to lose Wrestle Kingdom to cry.
Yeah.
And the greats pick their moments to cry. Yes, Tanahashi tends to be a little more emotional, and so can sometimes maybe cry in situations that you'd be like, really? Tanahashi's crying here? But he's still, for the most part, picks his moments. Okada picks his moments. I'm assuming Naito cried. I'm assuming he has functioning tear ducts in his one functioning eye. Right, so my problem with Umino is ultimately that he's got all these bits and pieces from all these great wrestlers, but I'm not quite sure what is Umino and not him play acting as somebody else. I mean, he just took Will Ospreay's setup finisher.
Yeah, the Hidden Blade. Yeah,
Hidden Blade is now the Blaze Blade. He's got Moxley's Death Rider. The only signature move of his that I would say is his own is that nasty outside leading to the outside of the ring draping DDT.
Oh yeah,
I don't know what he calls it.
Also the ignition, that other spinning neck breaker that he does.
Right. That's it. But all his other moves that we associate with him, he's taken from other people.
Yep.
And at the and again in a hope vein, I hope this is actually part of a story of Umino is almost there, right? He keeps getting these shots. He has kept managing to get these shots at Ospreay, and he almost got a chance to go to the finals of World Tag League, but that ultimately he's not going to get over that hump until he finds himself, and we get the authentic shooter, not shooter play acting as about 7 different wrestlers, depending on what point in the match we're in.
He does seem a lot like, so on the original like SmackDown games, the creator wrestlers were really like, it was like the head from this wrestler, the body from this wrestler, and the legs from this wrestler. And it's like, that's what shooter is. He's 100% just 33% this guy, 33% this guy, 33% this guy. It's
exactly.
Just, it's sad. I agree with you. I think I would rather have a patchwork of shooter than a direct Control-C copy paste Ren Narita Katsuyori Shibata.
That's fair. And speaking of Shibata, since you've brought this up, we know there's a couple little pieces of news. We're gonna kind of get to those as we get through things. But one of the things is that we know that Shibata left the United States to go back to Japan. We do not know for what reason, but we know that it's a little bit sooner than what he and Inoki Cosplayer wanted. And so Shibata is not back in Japan, and there is an interview where apparently he told Tenryu that if he hadn't gotten injured against Okada, he would have apparently quit New Japan again.
Wow.
Which is wild.
Okay.
And so we just it's one of those things to kind of think of the sliding doors or the butterfly effect of what ends up being history if that doesn't happen, right? You know, do we get LA Dojo? Do we get Ren Narita? What do we get? What do we not get? Do we get a Shibata that just kind of fades off into the sunset? Does he end up in Noah or All Japan? Or I don't see any references to if he mentioned what his plans would have been at that point in a different timeline. But there is apparently a timeline that exists where if he, had not suffered that injury, he'd have left New Japan.
And that's unfortunate because, man, he was one of the more exciting wrestlers in the world at that point. So that really sucks. That's a bummer. But I think had he not had that injury, had he not taken that shoot headbutt, then, what if that swinging doors moment, what if he had injured Okada at that point? What if it was Okada that had to have his brain pulled out and dusted off and replaced? There's a swinging doors moment right there.
Ooh, yeah. There's a few swinging doors in the recent history of New Japan. That is definitely one of them. I would say that within the Shibata swinging door, we don't get the copy paste Shibata in Ren.
No. You don't get an absolute killer out of Gabe Kidd either, because that was
right.
that was Shibata's doing. So I don't know.
But
I'm glad
yeah.
I'm glad he didn't quit. I'm glad he decided to train this up and coming class. I don't know what he's doing right now, and I hope he's okay. But man, that fucking sucks. What a bummer.
Yeah. And then the bummer that is this tag team. So we're back to, what do these guys do? I know some people in that, you start kind of fantasy booking and dreaming, because the reality is so hard to kind of wrap your head around, that these guys are not factoring into World Tag League. So now we're back to this idea that none of these guys have anything for Wrestle Kingdom. And are they going to be like, in the cute little short outfits at Tokyo Dome serving beer? Are they going to be in the Rambo? Are we getting special singles matches? Are we getting special tag matches? Do we get Ren and Umino breaking up because they're against House of Torture? And this is going to be very weird to say, but one of the beauties of House of Torture is that no matter where they're placed on the card on a final night, they have been structured in such a way that you've always got to look at their match with one eye, because there's a chance that there's something long-term repercussion that may sort of kind of happen. We always sit here going, whenever we look at these, it's like, even before last night when Umino and Narita got knocked out, I remember we sat together last week and looked at this match going, oh, this is setting up for like House of Torture being spoilers. And now I look at it and wonder if it's setting up for maybe, and I'm not and I've seen this mentioned on the Super J Cast Discord, so I'm just going to throw this out here, and I want to get your 2 cents. What would you think of this match ending with Narita joining House of Torture?
I was waiting for you to suggest that. I thought you might actually suggest that it was Shooter that joins the House of Torture and forgoes all of that stuff that he's learned. Like has an emotional break and becomes a bad guy for a while. I don't know. I don't necessarily think that he has to join House of Torture to complete the heel turn. I think if they get beat on the final night, like if Shooter gets pinned through some sort of ways and means House of Torture Lee, then they're in the ring afterwards, and they do the normal like, oh, it's okay, hug, you turn your back and Ren smacks you over the head. That could just set up a match for Wrestle Kingdom right there. He doesn't have to join House of Torture. I'd prefer that he didn't, but yeah, I mean, like, either way, like you can feel something might be coming from this. Something might be coming. Something good could be coming from it, and that's me huffing copium like fucking Blue Velvet Dennis Hopper. Like, ooh, I'm slutty. Ooh, I'm slutty. Like, fucking, I gotta huff that copium, because Jesus Christ, there's gotta be something from here.
Slutty for Ren and House of Torture. Welcome to 2023. This is where New Japan's booking has driven us to. Right, yeah, you would hope that the tears of Shota lead to something besides memeing. People were like tweeting Nagata going, what do you think of this? Can't you kind of like man him up? And, Shota being Shota is fighting all the randos on Twitter, explaining. But I guess he's okay now because ELP and Hikuleo bought him a Monster Energy drink. And now he's got his smile back.
They had a tickle fight.
Right. I don't know. The hope is that, then that would ultimately just be, if Ren did join House of Torture, that's just another the reverse of copy pasta Shibata. Then he's like copy pasta Kenta.
Yeah. I guess. I really liked
like
it. I like that turn though. I thought that was great. So
the Kenta turn was great. I just I wouldn't be shocked if there's something that happens between Narita and Umino to set up a Wrestle Kingdom match. I just, in that case, I would have wished we had done something a little more creative than go through the majority of this tournament where they're on a dating simulator and then they break up. Right. There's so many other ways we could have gotten to that match that I think would have been more interesting. And then, oh, by the way, then maybe instead of them in World Tag League, we have some of these teams that we had talked about last week, like a Fred Rosser or a Tom Lawler, that take their place and get something more out of it long term.
Yeah, but with Fred Rosser and Tom Lawler, like those aren't dudes who are in Japan 24/7. That's what they're looking for. They're looking to give their dudes in Japan stuff to do 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You know,
neither is Gates of Agony. Neither is the team from CMLL. Nagata and Suzuki. Yeah, they're in Japan, but they're not. I mean, Suzuki's not even on the roster. He's a freelancer. And Nagata, his 2023, he did more in All Japan. And I don't mind, and we'll get to Gates of Agony in a second. I didn't mind Gates of Agony, but if you gave me a choice between Gates of Agony and Fred Rosser and Tom Lawler, I take Fred Rosser and Tom Lawler.
Absolutely.
Right? And that's all. And it's World Tag League. And I understand you got to have some guys on the card to actually give people a reason to come to these shows. Not that side note. I understand why. I don't understand why some of these people came to these shows, because this is some of, like, collectively, some of the worst fucking crowds I've seen.
Oh my God. How about it? There's like,
is
it 20 still?
There was one match where I swear to God, if you would just show that to me in a vacuum, I'd have said that was from 2020.
Absolutely. Abso-fucking-lutely. It is so sad to watch sometimes.
And what I don't understand, and I think this is across the board. I don't think it's just an issue with, like, the domestic audience, because now 2 times now we've been recording for World Tag League. We've put out calls for questions. And out of the questions that we have gotten, only one has actually been World Tag League related in its entirety. And what I would love to know, and this is where maybe Joel and Damon can talk to some of the people like Manabu and Frazier that are on the ground in Japan and go to a lot of shows and be like, hey, why do you think the crowds for World Tag League domestically have been the way that they've been? Is it just a thing, right? Is it?
I think it's seriously that they're playing places that you don't play. Like, you're not going to send Okada out into the boonies to wrestle. You know, you're not going to send Tanahashi out into the boonies to wrestle for these guys.
You did. They did last year. I mean, for 2 years we had Team Bebop, because they had to find a way to get to get Tanahashi on the card to get asses in seats. Naito did a World Tag League run to get asses into seats. So they've put some of their top upper tier guys. They don't run these areas a lot. So on the one hand, you would think that people would be excited and come out in droves and show their excitement, because New Japan does not run that area of the country all that often. Like, the semifinals are going to be in Kagoshima, and they normally only, if you look on Cage Match, Kagoshima doesn't get a lot of wrestling to begin with, and New Japan at best runs them 2 times a year. But but when you watch a show in Kagoshima, whether it's New Japan, I think maybe Dragon Gate runs in there. Like that's kind of a hot wrestling city. Now, a lot of that is because of their favorite son, Tiger Mask W, but it's still like you can watch a show in Kagoshima and you sit there and go, man, if there was some promotion that would run more often in that city, they would probably like kind of kill it, because these people seem to really be into wrestling and really enjoy it and be an active audience. Where some of these audiences that we've seen, man, they're just sitting on their fucking hands.
They really are.
But then again, we don't get many questions about World Tag League. I've not seen a lot of the usual suspects that for any of the other New Japan shows and tours are normally tweeting and talking about them. Like Chris Samsa, I mean, I'm sure a big part of it is that he's super busy getting stats for Kevin Kelly and for like in trying to teach the AEW fan base how round robin tournaments work.
They look at that shit like fucking tits on a board, don't they? They're just like, what the fuck is this?
So he's teaching the unwashed masses, but I've not really seen him tweet about World Tag League. Obviously, and we can talk about this in a few minutes, you know, New Japan World is being very slow in getting the English commentary that Walker Stewart is doing uploaded. Walker has talked about how he's done a bunch of he's done a bunch of the shows and they're just not getting up there. And so ultimately what I would love to know is this malaise around World Tag League right now just typical, oh, it's World Tag League, I'm going to take the time off, I don't take it seriously, the company doesn't take it too seriously, so why should I? It's a glorified house show, all the usual reasoning. Or is it more ultimately emblematic of how people feel about the company right now? And that I don't know what's going on. I'm not feeling the company. So I'm going to take, at best, I'm going to take a little time off and try to regain my love for this company in time for Wrestle Kingdom.
And I think that's exactly what it is. This is the time of year. Okay, it's December, so everyone in the West is like Christmas shopping or working extra hours in retail, shit like that. No one really gives a shit. Like, New Japan isn't known for its tag division, right? Ever. This is just a thing that it's generally accepted. December is the slow time for New Japan. There's two generally accepted slow times. There's December for World Tag League and the time after G1, but before, like, you know, Super Juniors takes over and stuff like that. So there's slow times twice a year. They're the same times every year. Like we said, there's a reason Joel and Damon take the entire month off. I don't blame people for not being amped about it. I don't blame people for not talking about it. But I don't blame people for skipping over the matches they don't want to see. You know, if it's night 8 of the World Tag League and you're like, I don't really want to watch Goto Hashi versus, you know, whoever, I don't give a shit about this. Like, that's fine. Don't. You know, if you're a Shin Nihon freak and you're watching every fucking undercard and things like that, good for you, man. That's fucking awesome. I can tell you, I didn't watch most of the undercards. I watched the Young Lion matches. I watched the undercard matches that I wanted to see, like with like Oiwa and Kiyomiya, or the ones with Monster Sauce and things like that. I watched a couple of those, but for the most part, I just kept it to the World Tag League matches for this very podcast. And for my own, the Okada Shorts podcast, available from the Count Out Podcasting Network. Drink. If you aren't digging it, don't. Just don't. Keep that burnout, man. Keep that burnout far, far away. If you aren't digging it, don't fucking watch it. But, like, if you want to be a young go hard and you want to watch every fucking match, every moment, go for it, dude. Discover your own happiness within this. If you're listening to this podcast, you probably are at least a little bit interested in what's going on, and you want to talk to some people on Twitter or Reddit, or you know, discover what the voices in the community are saying. That's awesome, and I appreciate that. So you should go listen to the Okada Shorts podcast, Drink, and thank you for that. But if you don't give a shit, I completely understand. Oh my God, I get it.
No, I like, for the people at home, and I get it. It's just more mind-boggling for the people that are paying money to sit there and they don't look like they're having a good time. and they're sitting on their hands, and they're like, as much as people don't want to think of a world where ELP is going to get a push, about one of the only few constants was that these audiences, no matter what city they were in, like ELP and Hikuleo.
Yeah.
I saw a lot of Gorillas of Destiny's t-shirts, a lot of fan-made signs, but Hikuleo's doing the little hand heart signal back to these ladies with little Hikuleo fans, and they're about to like fall out of their seats like ladies that just got to touch Elvis. Right? And even ELP's like kissing fans and the hand fans, not the human fans. And like people are just freaking out in a good way. But outside of that, and maybe like Monster Sauce, I don't see how many. I'm struggling to see where people overall, what got people excited. And then I just saw, because Shooter can't stay the fuck off of Twitter. The ELP and Hikuleo also took him out for hamburgers and fries. So there's a shot he just posted to Twitter not too long ago, or at least it just came across my JCast feed of them all posing together at a burger joint, and they all look happy, and there's a smile back on Shooter's face. Shooter is like a child in Kamen Rider, where it's all going to end well because somebody fought hard enough to put the smile back on his face. ELP is Kamen Rider.
He is. He's got great kicks.
And he put the smile on Shooter's face.
I love it. I'm into this. Can we get somebody to draw ELP as Kamen Rider? Please.
I'm thinking Kamen. Maybe as V3.
So if I had to see ELP as any sort of, I think maybe right? Ghost. I'd like to see ELP as Ghost. He's got who's blue? Which Kamen Rider? Oh, Wizard would be a good one. Which
Wizard?
Which ones are blue?
Because I think he could rock that coat.
Lots of ELP wears lots of blue now.
Well, I mean, Gotchard is the most recent one. Is the current one?
Mm-hmm. Oh, what about who was the video game one that was a nurse?
X-Aid. He could be X-Aid. I would be right with him as X-Aid.
Okay, let's actually use that to get into B block. How about?
Well, let's first, as most people have, we almost forgot about the Gates of Agony and Kiyomiya Oiwa. We're just really quick. So Gates of Agony is currently at 2 points. I'm going to presume they finished at 2 points. They were fine. I mean, under the rubric of Obariism, did seeing them in New Japan make me want to watch them in ROH? No.
Not really.
I mean, they were perfectly serviceable. And I want to think that, because I asked somebody, I'm like, do they have this entrance gear in ROH? And everybody's like, no. So I want to envision a scenario where they get told, hey, man, you're going to Japan, you're going to work World Tag League. And they get so super excited. Oh my God, we're going to Japan. Let's spend a bunch of money and make this entrance gear. And it's just going to be awesome. Not knowing that they're going to be just traveling the hinterlands of Japan and that most of the people that they're going to be on the tour with aren't even going to take their t-shirts off.
Oh, I love that. Oh, that's great. Oh,
right?
So much money.
But I know.
Room in the suitcase. They got to pack all the room in the suitcase.
Yeah. Oh, and so I would give them a C. I like their match against House of Torture. I thought that we knew that the odds of them actually joining House of Torture were very low. It was good for about 24 hours of people freaking the fuck out. And at this point, I'll take that. Mm-hmm. But I did think it was kind of cool where they kind of silently took out the rest of House of Torture. And then kind of played their hands to Yujiro and Evil. I did like that. I really liked their match against Holy Seaman Army. I believe it's Toa was the one that was doing a little, I guess, haka off.
That was fun.
With Hinare, I mean, I'm not trying to be culturally inappropriate when I say haka off. I just don't know what, if there is a technical term for what they were doing. But that was really cool. And I have to give it to Hinare in that case, in that he probably worked the hardest in trying to give Toa something to work off of.
Yep. He really, they looked like they were trying the hardest to make them look like big monster, dominant dudes.
I mean, I wouldn't mind. I mean, if you tell me that we're going to see them on maybe some US based strong shows, I wouldn't have a problem with that. I think Toa could be what people want Hikuleo to be, that Jonah Fale character. It's just, he's very young in wrestling terms. And he just needs the reps. And I think ultimately this is what World Tag League was good for them. Getting them reps with on a constant basis with a high level of talent. And just on occasion, they would end up with some people that really kind of put their working boots on and busted their ass to get them over the hump. And then we have Kiyomiya and Oiwa at 4 points. I kind of wish they were a little more in play, but honestly, considering everything that's going on with Noah right now, probably your ace being only 4 points in World Tag League and somebody else's tournament is probably not the most pressing of your issues with your home promotion if you're a Noah fan. Can I say that?
I think maybe
am I underselling the situation?
I think you might be underselling a little bit. I think Kiyomiya might, I mean, hey, maybe Noah's not even going to be his home promotion for much longer. At least I hope not.
So very quick, but we'll get into Bebop, but as a Noah guy, I've got to ask you, if at the beginning of the year, did you hope that Kiyomiya would jump at the first opportunity to like New Japan or another promotion, or were you like, hey, he's got I know he can ride whether what they're doing with him booking wise, and then he can come back to Noah big and strong and be the ace again?
You know what? I'm more of a Kano fan. So like when they were talking about like Kiyomiya, like jumping ship, I was like, I don't want to see him jump ship, but like, I guess the Will Ospreay thing opened my eyes a little bit, and it's like, yeah, fuck it, man. Be bloodthirsty at this point. Take the stars if you need to. I want to see what's best for New Japan. And everyone else fucking be damned, I guess. So I don't know. I know there's some frustration with how New Japan have booked Kiyomiya. I know there's some frustration with how Noah has booked Kiyomiya, and maybe there's just frustration for Kiyomiya in general because everyone sees so much in him, but like we all want something for him, right? That's how all these new guys are. All these new young talents are. But like Kiyomiya he's doing a lot better and he's been around longer than like Shooter and things like that. So maybe there's a reason why he's got the better resume, but I don't know, man. If your home company can't book you to look strong sometimes, and this other company isn't booking you to look the strongest, but hey, they're giving you matches with their top guy, fuck it, man. Go where you got to go, son. And hopefully that's to New Japan.
And at this point, and for those of you that don't know, so Noah's big show, agreed, is January 2nd. Great Beginnings, I think it's called. I'm probably butchering I'm messing up the name of it, but their big show of the year is 2 days before Wrestle Kingdom. Mm-hmm. And Tanahashi and ZSJ will be in an undercard match on that show against each other. So we're kind of not completely off the rails talking about this, but the big thing of why Noah is kind of on everybody's lips right now is Kota Ibushi showed up, challenged Marufuji, and whether you think that match is 14 years too late, they're having it. But the bigger thing that has upset people is not the existence of the match, but it's the fact that it was announced afterwards. That's going to be the main event.
Yeah.
So for 2 years in a row now, your title is not main eventing your biggest show of the year. This would be like if last year Okada and Jay White were the semi-main to Will and Ospreay, and that's not even a proper comparison because at least there was a belt involved.
Yep.
But Danielson, right? If Okada and Danielson main evented over Sonata and Naito,
And
that's what's going on in Noah. Fans are losing their minds. Like the Noah president or the Cyberfight president had to actually put out a statement explaining that it was his decision to make that the main event because Marufuji and Ibushi have spent all weekend fighting randos on Twitter about this, and Ibushi's been like, hey, this was not like, hey, I didn't ask for the main event. I just showed up and made the challenge and he accepted. But don't be mad at me about card placement. And Marufuji was a little bit more like, hey, I didn't ask for this, but I'm not mad about it.
yeah.
Keno did some YouTube video where I don't know Japanese, but he did not look happy.
Keno never looks happy. Because he's the most put upon person in the fucking world.
But by his not looking happy standards, he looked extra unhappy.
Oh.
And I do not blame him because now for 2 years in a row, he's been shunted to the semi-main for no really good reason.
And that match, like, there is 4.5 star, potential in that match. There's also 1.5 star potential in that fucking match. It's that could go either way. So you could have just a brilliant Kota Ibushi versus Naomichi Marufuji match, or you could have your GHC title go on before an actual fucking diaper load of a fucking match. So who knows?
Oh, I mean, so Twitter guy, he's on Twitter and in Discord is DNMT. He's a gigantic Noah fan. Also does great Fire Pro Wrestling cause CAWs. And his thing was, hey, the booking was right there to have Ibushi, Marufuji be your semi-main, Soya, Keno as your main, and then what everyone is kind of somewhat presuming would not be surprised at happening in terms of Ibushi beating Marufuji and challenging for the GHC. Like that's a scenario where if Ibushi Marufuji is semi and Keno and Soya is the main, that's booking 101.
Yep.
Right? And instead, we're not getting they flipped it. It's going to be really awkward. This is Kota Ibushi's one chance to shut up everybody that think he's that 100% think he's washed. Right? Like if he does not, he's got like a month to get into some shape and to figure out a match format to where people will hopefully come away from that match going, oh, okay, Ibushi still has it. He just, because this is his first singles match back in Japan, and it'll be his first singles match in about 9 months, probably. And we all know Marufuji. Father Time has gotten Marufuji, and he does not have, and apparently part of the reason is that he does not have much time left in wrestling. So that's one of the reasons why it was an ME match, because we're not going to have many more Marufuji MEs, and we know that Marufuji's good for maybe 1 or 2 really top level matches a year. And you're taking a big chance hoping that this is going to be one of those.
Yeah, there's, like I said,
right,
4.5 potential, 1.5 potential.
But so Shinny Han fans, keep that in mind. Your main belt is our main belt, the Super Sentai Divas belt. We may not like the who's in it, but it's at least main eventing our big show of the year.
Yep.
So that's as much issues as I've got, and we all have, I think, with the booking. At least we have that going for us, which is one up on Noah.
Poor Noah. They've just been fucking themselves so hard since about 2021. It's like they just can't get out of their own way. They just keep tripping over their own fucking dick and falling, ass first into bad booking. I don't know what's going on with them.
But yeah, don't be shocked if Ibushi's GHC champion by the middle of the year. That just wouldn't shock me.
I'm in. Let's fucking go.
Right. I just because that would be par for the course with Noah.
Yeah, it would. Although Ibushi's only what, 48?
42.
40. Oh Jesus, 42.
Right.
I mean, he's still,
he's young. He's young by Noah standards.
He's 14 years too young to have their championship belt.
Yeah. But yeah, but that's A block. That's what we're looking at. Moving into B block final night.
B block's going to be a lot easier for me because there's not a lot of fun I have watching B block matches, really.
But that one's got some interesting math as well. But B block is going to be December 7th at I'm trying to read my handwriting. Miyakonojo City Hayamizu Sports Culture Center. My apologies if I fucked any of that up. So what we're looking at, my presumed main event for that night will be Hikuleo and ELP, Kamen Rider, and actually Ichimon and the original Kamen Rider, and we'll call Hikuleo the second Kamen Rider.
Okay. Right. I'm into it.
For keep the Kamen Rider thing going. We'll figure this out on Twitter, kids.
Workshop that. Workshop that.
Yeah. Versus Monster Sauce. They are both coming into this night at 8 points. This has again that kind of for all the marbles kind of deal. I would say I give Monster Sauce A plus. They're on my finalists for kind of like MVP of the tournament. Their match against Suzuki and Nagata was fucking amazing, and it was everything I wish
didn't it?
It's everything I wanted the Just Two Guys match up with Nagata and Suzuki to have been, because it could have been, and where that one felt it's not devoid of emotion, but muted emotion. The Monster Sauce edition of that fight with Suzuki was just amazing from the moment that Monster Sauce enters the ring, where up to this point, Lance has been doing the typical Suzuki-gun, run around ringside before you get into the ring, just screaming and laughing and knocking young lions out left and right. Alex Zane's been acting as his Miho to his Tai Chi, right? And then, where Lance will knock out a young lion, and then you see Alex just kind of have this look on his face of,
he did it again. Oh, don't.
And then he goes to the young lion and makes sure they're okay, and he apologizes. And there was none of that in that match. It was Lance Archer going directly to the ring, standing in the middle of the ring, and just waiting on Suzuki. And then when Suzuki showed up, was just like, no, we're fighting, motherfucker. Yeah, we used to be Suzuki-gun, but tonight we fight. And then the ending with Suzuki not only kind of reaccepting Lance, but giving his seal of approval to Archer, which I think is a major thing. Suzuki recognizing Archer, Zane.
Yeah, there you go. Okay,
right?
Sorry.
Because he gave him the fist bump as well, I think. But that was just an amazing match.
Yeah.
But that's been kind of for me. That's a perfect example of why for me Monster Sauce has been MVPs, because whether they're facing off with guys that are in the tournament clearly to just make numbers and to make the math work, versus say somebody like our main event today with LIJ, where guys that are higher up the card, they try to do something different in all their matches and make them memorable and get the crowd involved. And at this point with World Tag League, that's all I could really have asked for. So for me, they are definitely maybe A plus. I could see a scenario. I'm not changing my view, which is your World Tag League finals are going to be Monster Sauce TMDK. I think
four Westerners
wouldn't be but it's how they view this belt, right? The company.
Maybe. I don't know. Like
your champions are domestic guys, so it's not like we're gonna have a finals where it's just all 4 white guys, or I should say a Wrestle Kingdom where it's all 4 white guys.
Right. I think that's a great finals. It seems to me like right away, like that's probably not how it's going to be. And it definitely could be. And it looks like it's shaping up that way. Something about that doesn't sit right with my brain. I don't know.
That's fair. I see them at least getting through because we're getting a rematch of them versus Hikuleo and ELP.
Yep.
Of the strong title match that we saw a few weeks ago. And so I could easily see a scenario where they beat ELP and Hikuleo. Long term, they get to the finals of World Tag League, they lose, but what they've got as the consolation prize is maybe for either like New Year's Dash or kind of a dark match, if not a proper match, but basically a rematch against Hikuleo, ELP. I think they would win on a second go around, so it's them carrying the strong belts and they can have a bunch of fun time in America. And then it frees up ELP for something in 2024.
They could do that there's a Battle in the Valley, right? In January.
Yes.
They could do it there.
Yeah, you've got Battle in the Valley, you've got New Year's Dash. You could do something before, again, we have these Road to Korakuen shows. But that's my thoughts. I've got the GOD 2 team at also maybe like an A-. We've already talked a little bit about how they are over with the audience. I've enjoyed their matches. My only thing might have been I felt their match against Rogue Army was a little soulless. I would have, this is former kind of BC stuff happening, and it was just kind of there. So yeah, I would have liked that match to have a little bit more, but
we've moved past that with the LP, I think.
Well, but also Hikuleo, right? Because Hikuleo is the man ostensibly that had banished Jay White from Japan.
Yeah.
And here you had Fale, who is still very hardcore OG Bullet Club. And there was some of that there, but not as much as I would have liked to have had. But but overall, I've had no problem with it in World Tag League. They've been one of the better spots in World Tag League, and they put the smile back on Shooter's face.
Yes, they took him to the McDonald's play place, and they let him have some ice cream, and then they went to the toy store and did a little shopping. They let him buy a new video game, even though it's this close to Christmas, and now he's smiling again. So that's nice.
Then we have what is, I'm presuming, will be kind of a semi-main, and this is where maybe the draw between Bishamon and CMLL is coming into play. Bishamon at 7 points against just 2 guys at 8 points. This definitely has kind of a math feel, where someone out of GOD and Monster Sauce is going to have 10 points. I could, with Bishamon at 7, I could see a scenario where they beat just 2 guys, and then they sneak into the World Tag League final and the World Tag League semifinals as the B2.
I could see
that with 9 points,
because you're setting up challenges all over the shop, aren't you? At that point, you've got a challenge from the winner, you've got a challenge from someone who can knock them out in the semis. Like, you could have lots of stuff going on, and that would be great if we had, like we said, the War Dogs and TMDK as the War Dogs number 1 and TMDK number 2, because then you could have the War Dogs knock out Bishamon, and then TMDK and War Dogs have a second match where House of Torture interferes and TMDK wins, and then you set up down the road for House of Torture versus War Dogs. You set up down the road for a War Dogs, tag title run, tag title challenge, that sort of thing. Like you can set up a lot of different things by having Bishamon in the finals and the semifinals. But man, it'd be kind of boring, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but oh my God, what? Ew, yeah, it would be, but again, it'd be boring, but not outside of the realm of normal World Tag League booking.
Yeah,
right.
Yep.
I mean, the more interesting would be, say, Monster Sauce and just two guys coming out as your B1 and B2.
I'd say taking Monster Sauce and Hikuleo and ALP would probably be great because they've both got great reactions with the crowds. Also, like, you can't count out a team that has Hikuleo on it right now because we know from how the G1 ended up, the company looks pretty highly on Hikuleo. They've got plans for him. He's not a Reiwa easy company, Reiwa Magnificent Seven, but like they look at him as a player.
Yeah. And hey, he comes to the ring with Jado.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like my thing with Finley and my thing with Evil, and that they're being accompanied to the rings that by people that we either know in the case of like Gato or just presume in the case of Togo are on the booking committee. And that's them basically kind of telling the audience, whether you like it or not, these guys aren't going anywhere.
This is a guy. Pay attention.
Side note on the War Dogs, and I wanted to say this earlier, but I loved Kid turning his Twitter avatar into the crying Shota face.
He was wrong, bro. He was so wrong for that.
But it's what we want. It's what we talked about last week in terms of Kid needs to be the guy that just kind of pops up at every moment in these other guys' lives and just fucking takes shit from them and makes them miserable.
I love it.
And be the dude that like, hey, Narita's taking his son to like a little league game and the kid strikes out and there's Kid, just heckling this a kid at like the ball plate, right? And it was just perfect. That taking this emotional moment from Shota and turning and helping turn it into a meme. I thought that was so great.
I love it, man.
But back to B Block. So that's where I look at the top two. I just Taichi and Uemura for me have been a B. I think for all the reasons that we kind of talked about last week, in them not feeling at times like just two guys.
Yeah.
And it's kind of coming together. I think what we're getting set up for, because today they faced Rogue Army, and I had in my notes like that I was writing down in the middle of that match of, are we setting up Fale and Taichi for King of Pro Wrestling?
Oh.
Because Fale was looking at Taichi a lot. They had that little sumo off deal.
Oh, that we could get a KOPW title match out of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And actually, that sounds like it would be kind of fun if they had like one of those sumo based matches like they did a couple of years ago with Taichi and who was it? Shingo?
I think so. Or just right. I mean, it sounds perfect for a Road to Wrestle Kingdom at Korakuen match.
Yeah. This is your last chance to get the belt off of Taichi before he's declared KOPW for 2023. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I felt.
I'm into it. Let's go.
Yeah.
I want that KOPW trophy to be, or the belt, I guess now, to be something where you're like, you want to see some shit? Check this out. Here's a sumo match. I've said this before on my own show, the Akata Shorts podcast drink, that Taichi should really like legitimately be like, motherfucker, if you want this belt, come fight me at Ganryojima Island and fucking set up a Ganryojima Island death match again. And imagine the opulence of like Taichi's throne room on Ganryojima Island. How cool does that fucking sound?
That almost sounds like something that should have been done between him and Show.
Oh, absolutely.
Because honestly, I need that belt back on Show. Show just had some galaxy brain shit that I'm like, okay, you are taking this completely ridiculous belt and you are achieving its highest form.
Yes, absolutely.
It's like, if I gotta watch this fucking belt, that's how I want to watch this belt. I'm just overall this top B block half of it. After Monster Sauce, I'm just so conflicted on who I think is coming, because I don't envision a world where Monster Sauce is not going through to at least the semifinals.
Yeah.
And I just don't know who the third. The chalk pick is Bishamon. I think because it feeds into the overall story. And I think this is a case where we can see that there is a story being told of, here we have our champs who are also 2-time defending World Tag League champions, in that story of, it's very difficult to repeat. It's extra difficult / special to get it for a third time.
Yeah.
And also with the fact that you've been on the shelf because Goto's been on the shelf. So you've got that mini story as well of Goto trying to maintain some level of health so he can finish the tournament, because at this point he is rocking more athletic tape than Yoshihashi. And this would be a cage match. This is just literally coming to me as I speak. And so this is something for somebody to look up on Cage Match or Hey Chris Samsa, of who has, we know if like Kota Ibushi, he's got this record of having gone to the finals of the G1 4 times in a row.
Yeah.
Right. And so on the World Tag League side, if Bishamon were to make it to the finals, would this be a record thing of going to at least 3 finals in a row? So that's my question for the stat nerds, because I'm not going to look it up right now because I can barely navigate Cage Match without like
you have to learn German.
Well, it's more of just how they organize things and trying to think like a German in their organization and trying to pull the data that you want to pull. And I'm just not wired that way to begin with.
That's fair.
So, that's an interesting thing, and to make people think about, because I'm having this thought right now of, does Bishamon make it to the finals?
As long as we agree that them winning for a third year in a row would be really, really boring.
Well, no. Here's the thing. The only it would actually be more interesting, because then they're winning as the champions as such, presuming that the rules are the same as for the G1. As champions, they've won. Theoretically, who would they pick to be their opponents? That's where it could get, that could be a little bit interesting. And this is also, though, where having real time, or maybe not real time, but close enough real time English commentary would be so helpful right now, because this is the type of things, again, we go into a G1, that final weekend of G1, and we've got all these permutations, and we've got all these historical notes and potentialities, and you've got Chris Charlton at ringside, walking you through it and walking you through all the permutations, and you have Chris Samsa on Twitter walking you through, and his website, I think the Sport of Pro Wrestling.
Yep.
Walking you through all these permutations to help get you excited. And the whole presentation of this World Tag League, they're not even like flashing points when they flash the teams coming, right? Like the G1, you normally might get a name, but you'd get like what their current record is. So you could start trying to, at least on your own, kind of figure out the math and what's going on. And side note, so the other little piece of news is that New Japan Today announced that plans for remote live English commentary for World Tag League Finals have been scrapped. So you're going to get those like uploaded as VOD as soon as possible. And then we're back to actual live English shows when Walker gets to Japan in late December. And I think this is so emblematic of why it is so hard for people to follow this promotion and to take it seriously. Because, and this is what I went off on Twitter about this, and I normally don't do that snitch tag. And this time I snitch tag Kidani because I'm so fucking tired of this. And that New Japan since 2020 have been doing these kind of live English remote shows. And we're going on 3 years and you can't fucking get it right.
Yeah, figure it out. Guys.
You've even I'm just gesticulating wildly at the moment. You did it earlier this year, and to this day, it still sounds like they have Chris Charlton in a fucking metal tube trapped somewhere that we have to go fucking rescue him because he doesn't sound like he's in the same room at all with Walker. Or Kevin, I guess he was doing it with Kevin. Because even though we know that they're not in the same room, it sounds like they're not in the same room, and they can't get the levels all mixed to sound appropriate, and it's so fucking small time. And I'm going to presume that part of not being able to do a live, remote English commentary has something to do with the new world, and new NJPW world, which is a fucking lump of coal.
It's a shit show.
And,
oh my God.
And it is a prime example of be careful what you fucking wish for. Because for years, the discourse has annoyed the fuck out of me of people going, oh, the world is bad and I can't do this with it and I can't do that with it. And for me, I felt a little bit, I just accepted it because I also have subscriptions to some other Japanese streaming services, one of which being the Pacific League for the Nippon Professional Baseball League. And that's not even in English. They don't even have like a little fucking button that I can toggle that makes it bad Google translated English. Like I had to go to a third-party blog to figure out how to give them my money.
Oh yeah, I remember signing up for World when you had to click on this symbol and then enter your card information here and then click on this, and yeah, I remember that.
So I go, hey, World's not the greatest, but at least it has a toggle to English and you can kind of navigate it and maybe 9.5 times out of 10 find what you're looking for in the first try. I can't fucking do it, which is something that I can't do with these other streaming services that I'm a part of. I've got to work a little bit harder on it, and it makes it even more a barrier to entry for these other things. But now, y'all finally got what you wanted. You got a new world. Huzzah! And it fucking sucks.
They've had 10 years to fucking figure this out.
And I'm not even having most of the problems. Like, I use the Android app on my phone, and I have the occasional little issue if I'm trying to watch something live. But VOD, I'm perfectly okay. Everybody's mileage is obviously going to vary, but at the end of the day, it's at the end of the day, they keep, just like Noah from their booking keeps like tripping over their dicks. New Japan and TV Asahi keep tripping over their dicks with World.
Absolutely fucking do. I can't even back out of a show. Like if I'm watching a show and I hit the back button on because I have the Amazon Fire Stick, if I hit the back button to exit out of the show, it just takes me to a blank screen and I sit there for, however long staring at a blank screen before it just shoots me back out to my home screen. Like I cannot go from one show to the nest. It's fucking garbage.
This is not a knock on Walker. I know Walker is working his ass off doing post-show English commentary to be uploaded as part of the VOD. It's just not being uploaded by TV Asahi in a fucking timely manner. And then because of the way the app is laid out, you don't fucking know intuitively if there is English commentary until you fucking toggle buttons to see if there's an option to give you English commentary. Yep. Quality of life is worse than it was with Old World. But I will say this on English commentary front. And I'm probably going to ruffle some feathers. Shock, I know. So in talking with Walker, he is raring to go, and if he had it his way, he would be in Japan for World Tag League. It's just not but the way it was all kind of scheduled and figured out, it was set up for the live remote deal, right? But Walker is young and hungry and excited enough that he wanted to be there live for World Tag League, which is probably more than some of the guys on the roster, if we're being completely honest. Right? But we have another part of our English commentary that's based in Japan and was there for the Korakuen shows, and he was there for some of the bigger city shows. And I don't fucking know what is going on in Chris Charlton's life where he can't get on a fucking train and go to these other shows.
Charlton's never
Can you not find a bit?
He's never
right. Can you not find a babysitter for the kids? Is that what's going on? Is there something legal that you're not allowed to leave Tokyo? What? But this has to change in 2024. In that, if New Japan has any shot of expanding into Southeast Asia, maintaining dominance in Japan, and let's be honest, there's a lot of people ready to jump ship to All Japan.
Well, All Japan's been on
depending
fire
on how this
lately.
booking goes.
Yeah.
Right. There's a bunch of people that are at that point. And then to stop being the ugly stepchild of AEW, New Japan has to have a better commitment if they want to have any sort of growth in the West, or at least maintain better commitment to constant live in-house English commentary. And if you can't fucking leave Tokyo, maybe you shouldn't be in that second chair. And you can just be the third guy, and you come in remotely, and they turn your fucking mic on, and you give us some historical facts, and then you go back to silence, and you go watch the kids, or you do whatever the fuck else you're doing that precludes you from being able to be all in on commentary for New Japan.
Man, you make an interesting point. But I like Chris Charlton a lot. I think he's great on commentary. I love having such a big brain, like the professor of Puroresu. Like, I love that. If we have someone else like a Walker who can commit to moving to Japan full time to do full-time shows, and then Charlton's only on the bigger shows, the bigger cities, I'm fine with that. Walker, I don't know if Walker's ready to do it himself. I don't know if he's learned enough about the product that he's ready to take on these shows alone. But like, if he is, fucking let's go. Let's do it that way. Like, convince him, give him money so that he moves to Japan and becomes your commentator. Like, the dude's good. Like, he's got talent. I really like his voice. I like his enthusiasm. I like his, like you said, his hunger, his thirst for knowledge. I really appreciate that from him. And I don't want to see us lose another thing to AEW or another Western company when he eventually just gets a position with WWE or AEW or Ring of Honor or wherever the hell he ends up. Lock him down. Let's go.
I'm just imagining people just screaming at me right now.
Well, Charlton's a very popular figure, so I mean, I can understand.
But I need people there, and I think the company needs people there.
And you're right.
Full time and
absolutely
supportive. Right. And this World Tag League is a prime example of, so Korakuen, Charlton can be there, and then they pull some dude from the back after he's had a match. And we go on our merry way, and we get some live comms. I don't know why we can't do this I don't know why Chris Charlton can't go to Kagoshima. I don't know why Chris Charlton can't go to Kumamoto. I don't understand. And until New Japan, Bushiroad, and TV Asahi start taking these tours seriously in that regards, I don't know why they expect us to.
I don't know how long that's going to be before they do, though, because I mean, like, you saw how long it took them to put out the most basic fucking buggy ass app for New Japan World when we were begging for it. Next fight we have is to get, comms, live English comms on all the shows. That's going to be an even farther uphill battle. Like, it could be years before we see that shit. So,
and if ultimately that's the plan, like, just tell me that. Just go, hey, we're happy that you Western nerds give us money and want to follow the product, but you're not our primary concern. Just tell me that. Don't string me along. Just tell me that I'm not a priority to you, and that's all right. And then I'll just go about my day, and I won't lose sleep or snitch tag Kidani or scream on a podcast about you not doing your utmost to expand into the West and make your product accessible if you tell me that that's not your intent. That's all I ask.
Yeah, I'm not going to stick up for him with this. I think you're right. Like, that's probably not their. It's probably not their high up on their list of priorities, but maybe it is. Maybe, who knows? Who knows? Let's hope. Let's continue to hope. And if you run out of hope before I do, I completely fucking understand.
Speaking of keeping hope alive, we've got also on this B finals block nights after what we think are going to be our top two matches. Then we have LIJ versus CMLL. Apparently our favorite Sea Pirate wants to be a permanent member of LIJ.
Well, you got Naito coming out to watch his matches, see how it's going. He's looked very impressive in the last few nights in front of Naito. So yeah, I mean, he even got out there and spoke a little bit of Nihongo in front of everyone. He spoke a little bit of Japanese. Could be that we have a pirate soon. I think that would be absolutely fantastic.
I am all for it. We talked last week about how much we want to just hug and cheer and cuddle Zandakon, and I would be very happy singing a sea shanty in his honor if we have a permanent new member of LIJ. Also, hey, they could probably use the warm bodies depending on how much longer they got Naito.
That's true. Well, we've got Naito's heir apparent as well already locked in, so it's cool. It's cool.
Yeah, but it was just, he's sitting next to Milano, and between the two of them, they got one full proper set of I'm assuming Naito's return means that we're going to see him in some Road to Wrestle Kingdom shows, which I almost kind of don't want at this point. If for no other reason, I don't want to risk. I would rather Naito just take as much time up to the last moment before he has to enter the ring to like make sure that he's healthy and right. But of course, Naito is insane and just loves wrestling that much. So I'm surprised he wasn't back sooner. I'm surprised he just didn't show up like as soon as he had the surgery, the next available opportunity, or in like a fucking eye patch like Bryan Danielson.
Okay. Eye patch Naito and Zandakon Jr. like would be total bros.
Yeah. Give that to me. LIJ though, they've been fine. Probably a solid B. I love the two of them together. I'm just not sure how. This is again one of those tag teams where I came into World Tag League just kind of assuming that it was a one-off. So there's that level of investment, but not full scale investment in them as a team, because there's no real expectation that they're going to stick around as a team. But if they're going to stick around as a team, I am very, very intrigued and would have no problems with them going for the belts. I'd be all over that.
What Zandakon would come up with for a King of Pro Wrestling match. Like what kind of fire the cannons 3 times and then pin your opponent or something. Like I want to see what he would come up with.
I do too, but it would have to be against a different opponent because I don't think he and Tai Chi had any sort of fucking chemistry in their World Tag League match.
Ooh, good point.
I think we touched upon this last week, but yeah, the vibes in that match were completely wrong.
Yeah, which is
But
sad
yeah,
because
I
both
would.
the LIJ team has looked really good with a lot of other opponents. Their match with Monster Sauce was fantastic.
Yes. That's probably on my short list for like matches of the tournament.
Yeah, I think you're right.
The CMLL team has been fine. I really kind of enjoyed them against Hikuleo and ELP today.
Oh, that was a
Side
lot of
note,
fun.
side note, I would not mind ELP having some fun in Mexico, or at least participating in Fantastica Mania, because I think he vibed really well with Atlantis Jr. and Soberano Jr.
Well, that's like his background, isn't it? That's where he comes from. You know, he doesn't come from Mexico, but that's like where he draws inspiration from. And with that tag team of him and Hikuleo, you've got a dude who can hang with you as far as going fast and flipping and putting on the show. And then you've got a dude who is an excellent base for someone to work off of when it comes to flying high, jumping off of, hitting and flying around with. So like, I think they were a perfect team for that CMLL team. And yeah, let's see more of them during Fantastica Mania. I'm so amped for Fantastica Mania. I love it every year. I know it's the first tour after New Year's Dash, so like we're amped after the Wrestle Kingdom show. We're amped after seeing where things are going with Dash, and then everything gets put on halt for this like non-canon event for 2 weeks or whatever. But it's so much fun, dude. It's so much fun. Fantastica Mania rules.
I normally don't watch Fantastica Mania. I'm one of those people that normally just kind of takes it off, because normally I've been that freak that is watching like all the Road to Wrestle Kingdom stuff and watching Wrestle Kingdom and taking the day off from work so I can watch it live. Whoa. And just diving into new beginnings. So Fantastica normally hits at that time where I'm just like, okay, I need to take a little me time.
Gotta rest your eyes
and watch some other stuff and recharge the batteries. This year, I don't know. I might actually watch Fantastica Mania this year. Who knows?
Who else we got?
All we've got left is Suzuki and Nagata, and Rogue Army. And so we were lamenting last week about Nagata and Suzuki in terms of why are they in this tournament? There's no story development with them, right? It's been this whole thing of, oh, they've been at each other's throats for 40 years and they're still at each other's throats and not changing or moving along. And then all of a sudden we got today, and then next to last night of block action, Suzuki sacrificing himself. And all of a sudden it was like, oh, now we're finally getting some storyline movement and explanation as to why you two are teaming together.
It took you long enough. It took you what, 2 weeks, 3 weeks?
Yeah. But that was weird, right?
I've lost interest in this whole story. Like, I love Nagata, I love Suzuki. Seeing them as a tag team is cool. Wherever they're going with this, it's not anywhere important, because it's not going to lead to like a big Wrestle Kingdom match. It might like lead to a match on the road to or something like that. But like, this is it's a short-term story, and it's not going any further than where it's at right now. I don't think. I don't see them as the team that's going to make any noise outside of this tournament. And wherever this story is going, they're two men who are in their mid-50s. So it's not like they're not putting tons of butts in seats right now. You know, it's fun. We're having a good time. That's all it needs to be.
But we got something. I'm assuming they're going to be the first match. They're at 2 points. Rogue Army's at 4. Fale, the last couple of nights, Fale's actually tried. which is more than what he was doing. Like, these are both teams that, if I had to give them grades, it would be generous C minuses. And I think in Rogue Army's case, they're getting a C minus from me because Abanza actually, like, absolutely carrying the bloated corpse of Fale to like watchable matches.
Yeah, I love Bonza. I'm so glad that he's getting a chance in Japan. I'd love to see more of him. I think he fits in like with the War Dogs aesthetic. I know that he's got a his own thing with the Rogue Army and stuff like that in PWA, but tying him to Fale has kind of sucked.
It's not done him any favors, and it's weird. It kind of has, because of just the overtime work he's putting in, but it hasn't, because we're all sitting there going, oh, okay, it's fucking Rogue Army. So these are two teams that if they didn't come back next year, my feelings would not be hurt. I wouldn't mind Bonza back with somebody else.
Caveman Ugg.
From
Bonza and Caveman Ugg.
Right. Just but this will be a perfect like bathroom match on the final on B block final night. But that's what we've got for our final blocks. And then December 8th, we've mentioned already that the fine people of Kagoshima at the Kirishima City Makizono Arena will be getting the semifinals of A1 versus B2, B1 versus A2. My thought is that I'm still kind of holding out. I think my A1 I have is TMDK. I think my A2 is going to end up being War Dogs. That's what I'm hoping. I'm just so scared that it's going to be Yano Ishii with, right? I mean,
an all chaos World Tag League final. Woo! Nothing's going to light a fire under New Japan like that, man.
I know. With the B1 being Monster Sauce, and for me, I think my B2 is going. I'm going to be saucy, no pun intended, and I'm actually going to go with just two guys as my B2.
Okay, all right.
I'm going to be.
There's a lot of, I mean, we've gone through here and explained a lot of different scenarios that could happen. I think we've probably spent way too much time dissecting the amount of scenarios that can happen. We've probably had more time dissecting the scenarios than the booking committee has. So, I'm going to say for the story I want to see play out, it would have to be War Dogs 1, TMDK 2, and then Monster Sauce 1, Bishamon 2. That's the story I want to see play out. I don't know if that's what it's going to be. It's kind of where I'm hoping for.
And then out of that semifinals, who do you expect to be in the finals December 10th at Grand Mise Kumamoto?
Let's go rematch. Okay. War Dogs and TMDK. So we'll have that's I want that House of Torture story we were talking about.
Okay. But you don't think that in the vein of running back like Bishamon versus somebody, you don't think running TMDK versus War Dogs less than a week apart?
No, because
you've got no problem with that.
I think there's a way you could do it where the match gets thrown out because of bullshit or something like that. And then, you can have a little heat. Like this isn't up to me to decide. I don't even know if it's best, but that's the story I want to see play out. So I don't know if it makes a lot of sense, but that's what I want to see.
No, fair enough. I just wanted to ask that. I'm sticking with the horses that I came into World Tag League with, and I'm just gonna ride that to the end, baby, of a finals of TMDK, Monster Sauce, and then TMDK winning it all.
I think that would be a hell of a time. They're going to have so much fun, those four guys.
Yeah, I mean from in terms of like that would just be fucking fun. And it's a match we haven't seen before, so it'd be fresh for the finals. And I think the four of them could just give them about 20 minutes, and that would just fucking rock.
Yeah, it would. Well, let's start wrapping this up. I got about 10 minutes before I need to get ready for work. So
yeah, I think I'm gonna quick check Twitter, or X or whatever the
it's
fuck
Twitter.
we're calling
We
it.
dead name Twitter. You can't just go changing names, Elon. Right? Fuck you, man.
Yeah, but let me just see if we've got anything that pops on in for questions. Nope, still just that one World Tag League question. There was a question I had gotten about Charlton Athletic and what I think of our new gaffer, and they just keep breaking my heart. And I want to believe. Thank God I had the Houston Dynamo, who, while they got bounced from the Western Conference, out of the Western Conference Finals for the MLS Cup this year, stupendously overachieved and went from being fucking cellar dwellers for 3 years to almost winning the conference. They won the Open Cup, so I got trophies, which is definitely better than a lot of the other teams at MLS. I'm very happy with that.
I love an in-season tournament, man. I think that's so much fun. I wish the NHL would do that.
See, what makes Open Cup a lot of fun is that it brings in so many. It's not just MLS teams, right? It's like every fucking soccer, football team in the U.S.
Yeah, that's the same thing as a FA Cup here in England.
Yeah, and so that if you're going to do that with the NHL, but obviously bringing in like AHL and ECHL and then yeah, I'm into it. But if you're doing it in the style of like the NBA where it's just all the same teams, then no.
I don't know. You've got 82 games in the NHL. 82 games is a lot of games. That's so many games. And so it could really, like, those games in December, in January, game 30 in December, it can really make that seem a little bit more exciting. That I'm putting that out there. I think there's a reason to get amped for your team versus the fucking Philadelphia Flyers. Well, no, your team versus the Philadelphia Flyers would be amped for you. So let's put it this way. Your team versus the Phoenix Coyotes, in December, there's a reason for you to get amped about that, is because it's, more points in a in-season tournament and then another trophy to hand out. I think it's cool.
It just feels gimmicky.
It is gimmicky to me. It really is.
And I'm crusty old sports person in that way. I've got to deal enough of that kind of bullshit in Major League Baseball with ghost runners and all sorts of shenanigans. So I just give me my sports. Just stop trying to make the Zoomers happy. That's. I'm just old lady yelling at clouds when it comes to that, and I admit it.
For you Zoomers, she's coming for your TikToks.
Yeah, man, your TikToks and your four squares and your live journals, just coming for it all, kids. No, so. But I will say what I'm not coming for, and what I think all the kids should watch, though, is definitely Godzilla -1.
Hell yes, I'm so amped for Godzilla -1. Oh, did you see that the preview for Godzilla X Kong has dropped now?
I saw the preview drop for it. I haven't watched it.
Oh, it looks so fun. It looks like a 2023 Showa era movie. It looks like so much fun.
Yeah, I mean, I'll probably peep it. Side note, though, so Apple TV has the whole kind of, I guess, prequel stuff with the monarchy.
Yeah.
And Suji's brother pops up in it.
Does he?
Yeah, somebody on Super J-Cast Discord grabbed a screenshot of him in it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I haven't watched episode. I've watched the first 2 episodes of Legacy of Monsters. I haven't been able to download and watch the next 2 yet.
I haven't watched any of it yet. I've got so much. I've got too much on my plate. I have like a couple weeks of Gotchard and a couple weeks of Ogier to catch up on. So I got to knock those out first.
Tokusatsu fans eating good right now.
Oh my god. Oh, and then there's Ultraman Blazer.
Love Ultraman.
Which I think is the best Ultraman in the last couple of years.
Hell yeah.
I did not like Trigger and Decker were okay, but I really
enjoyed an Ultraman
Blazer
since like Orb, I think probably.
Yeah. Blazer's really good. It's worth giving that a roll.
Sweet.
And then kids, you can actually go and legally watch Ultraman with either Japanese subs or English subs or legal dubs on YouTube. So Tsuburaya has got a official channel. So you can actually, speaking of making your product accessible to people in the West.
Who'd have thought that?
I know, Tsuburaya has really got it. But let's wrap this up. First off, on behalf of Montreal's first and favorite power couple, Lawrence and Evelyn, and Super Dad Cast, I want to, and then, oh my God, I'm blanking on their names. I know it's John and somebody else. I am so sorry. And then we want to thank you all for tuning in to this month-long World Tag League Takeover. Joel and Damon will be back next week to review the shows. Also, keep your ear holes open for a special little treat that will be dropping before then. We will hopefully also drop before then as well this episode. But thank you all for taking the time to listen to us and the true voices of wrestling. I got to give Joel and Damon credit for that, for allowing other voices to be heard within the fandom and giving other people a chance, and being inclusive in that regards. I got to thank you guys for that. You can catch Super J Cast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. If you want to give 5 stars, that would be great. If you want to give anything less, don't waste your fucking time. Because if you're not enjoying this full 5 stars, why are you spending any time with us? Mm-hmm. Just 5 stars or nothing, baby. This is not Meltzer. Yep. You can give over 6. If you want to give 7.5 stars, we're all there for that. 4 3/4, keep that shit at home. So support, if you want to throw a little money on the way of Joel and Damon and editor Dan, Red Circle.
.com/super-day-cast.
Beautiful. Somebody's remembering how to give them money. They got t-shirts on different sites. Give them some money that way. Follow editor Dan on Twitter at LousyHero219 or Escape the Box. Escape the Box music is available at all your favorite music streaming platforms. You can catch Curtis at Okada's Shorts, part of the Count Out Network? Count Out
Podcasting Network, yes.
All right, and take a drink. If you've listened to both of these episodes back to back, I apologize for your liver if you've been playing the Okada Shorts drinking game.
I went easy on him this week.
I know. You can find me on Twitter at BoozeLeprechaun, and I think I'm going to pop up on Spill. I'm really kind of digging that as a possible additional home from Twitter.
What is Spill?
Okay. So Spill was started by former Twitter executives.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it looks really cool, but they haven't had an Android app. It's been like open kind of beta on Apple. And then speaking of it, the Spill app for Android was supposed to drop today. It wasn't where they wanted it to be, so they've actually pushed back the release.
Wow, you can do that?
You can do that.
I think the New Japan World app was exactly where they wanted it to be, so that's why they went ahead and released it, because they don't give a fuck.
I know. But thank you all for listening. Joel and Damon will be back next week. I don't know when either of us will be back next week. Who knows? Maybe I'll be on an Okada Shorts podcast. Maybe. I'm going to throw that out into the ether. let you
love the
let
idea.
y'all chew that over.
I love the idea. We're always having guest hosts and guest. So we all of the guests on our podcast are guest hosts, and we keep a running tally. And eventually, our 69th guest host, it's got to be Ryusuke Taguchi. At some point, we're going to learn Japanese before then, but it's going to be a thing. So if you would like to come and be a guest host on the Okada Shorts podcast, it's happening. Totally.
All right. So, and then I think that is it from all of us. So, and happy holidays.
Yeah. Do a Christmas thing or something.
Yeah.
All right. Bye. Love you.
Hey everybody, my name is Jesse Collins, and I want to tell you all about my show, The Gentleman's Wrestling Podcast, here on the Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network. On the Gentleman's Wrestling Podcast, we do a thorough analysis on the biggest issues and trends within the pro wrestling industry. We talk a lot about pro wrestling media, we talk a lot about fan culture and wrestling's place within general pop culture, and we talk about the broader influences that are shaping the way we discuss and analyze the pro wrestling industry. We've had some of the brightest minds in the pro wrestling intelligentsia on the show, including WrestleNomics host Brandon Thurston, both Rich Craich and Joe Lanza from the Flagship Wrestling Podcast, Trevor Dame from the Through the Years podcast, and a whole lot more. This isn't a show for hot takes. It's not a show recapping the latest episode of television. This is a show focusing on the biggest topics in pro wrestling and doing a deep dive on the real stories behind the surface level analysis you might find elsewhere. The Gentleman's Wrestling Podcast is available wherever you get your podcasts, and we'd really appreciate it if you gave us a try. Thanks.